And I said, hey, I want to raise. I've been here for 2 years. I've systemized and streamlined so many of our processes. I've taught myself a really high in demand skill. I've grown all our social media channels from this to this. Again, my whole proposal. And again, I was told no, like no raise. And I had that feeling in my heart where I'm just like, I know I'm meant to be more than someone's front desk girl. I'm a good front desk girl, but I just felt like there's got to be something more. 'Cause I went all in and I mean, I went into credit card debt. I'm still working on that, but like I don't regret it because I'm building something bigger. It feels so risky to go off and start your own business, but in my opinion, it's actually way riskier to give your everything to a company. I could put my camera on like a vase, like prop it up on a vase and then walk in. Or I can maybe have a friend hold it or get yourself a tripod. It's $20, such a good investment.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Odyssey, the podcast where we talk about the entrepreneurial spirit and how they have overcome challenges and grow their business and insight and all of those good things. And today I have with me Sarah McGill, who is a content creator and social media manager. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about today some of the things that she does for her clients and how you can brand yourself and all of those amazing things. So, Sarah, we'll just let you talk a little bit about you, just a brief introduction, and then we'll move forward with all the other great things that we're going to discuss today.
Excited. Thanks so much, Rob. Yeah, so I'm a social media content creator. I love making videos and reels. Been in this business for about 2 years as a freelancer, and I just basically was. I have a bachelor's degree. I speak Spanish. I'm well traveled and I'm well read, and I interview really well. And I just had this experience in my 20s where I could never find a decent job. And I ended up waiting tables a lot too, which is honestly really fun work. But I'm meant for something more. Like I'm ready to, whatever I do, right? Like I'm going to go above and beyond and I'm ready to like climb that ladder. And I worked in the wine industry for a long time. I live in Washington. So it's like the new Napa. It's very wine country up here. Beautiful. So I worked in wine and hospitality a lot, planning events and weddings and the wine. And I just was like, this can't happen. So I did the math and I go, you guys are paying me $15 an hour. I need to make at least 24 to just not live in, to just have my own place. And so I had this great presentation. I studied for months. Had to drive to a different state to test for that certification. So I came back and I say, okay, I have my certification. I'm a certified sommelier. I'm leading all your events. I'm planning your weddings. I'm producing this much profit for you guys. I need to make $24 an hour so that I can just not have a roommate anymore. It's just not cute anymore. And they told me no. And I thought I worked here for 2 years and this is ridiculous. So then I go to a different, luckily I made the jump into real estate right before COVID, which was just amazing to get out of hospitality and events and service and everything and get into real estate. So I started doing social media for this boutique real estate office in my town and doing all their transaction coordinating. So every time a signed around contract came in, I was the one putting all the deadlines and addenda and filing it all away, but also doing all their social media and building their social media from the ground up. But at the time, I'm a millennial, but I was like a late adapter millennial. I was the last one to get an iPhone. I was the last one probably to get Instagram, honestly. And I remember just being all grumbly, like, I know these idiots using Google Maps. Like people should just learn how to read a map. It's just a skill everybody should have. And I just remember being really grumpy about it. So then I got this opportunity to interview at this real estate office, and she basically just let me name my price. And I was like, honestly, I'll be a custodian at the penitentiary as long as I can make the amount of money that I need to make to get my own place for me and my daughter. So she says, "Can you do social media?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, totally. I got that." And inside, I'm like, "Oh my God, I don't got that. Like, I need to figure out." But this is my goal later to be like, "You can't." Oh my
Right.
gosh, to provide photography, which we always do, which we always did, but also a property video. And I would have the realtors come back in and they would vent. I was also probably the office therapist too, because it's a very stressful job, real estate. And so I kept hearing all of them say, like, and all those expenses they have to pay out of pocket before the house sells, and they just hope that they make their money back in commission. But with those higher end properties, you might not sell the house for a year. And so I just remember hearing that pain point over and over again. I just wish that we could have property videos and it wouldn't cost so much. And a property video back then was like $1,000 at least. And it was just a one time video, not multiple snippets that you could repurpose and reuse. And so I taught myself video editing. I literally went onto YouTube. I taught myself Premiere Pro because we had the whole Adobe suite at work. And so I planned photo shoots and video shoots. I got models and model releases and I made the shot list and I edited it all together. And I worked with the videographer. I just said, hey, can you just, I don't have the equipment or the videographer knowledge, but can you just give me a raw file of all these things and then I'll just edit it? And it worked out really well. So between the social media and then also doing that type of video, I would say I learned a new skill. 2 years after I got that job, I had a call with my boss again and I said, "Hey, I want to raise. I've been here for 2 years. I've systemized and streamlined so many of our processes. I've taught myself a really high in demand skill. I've grown all our social media channels from this to this. Again, my whole proposal. And again, I was told no, like no raise. And I just thought, that's crazy. And also, I just had that feeling in my heart where I'm just like, I know I'm meant to be more than someone's front desk girl. I'm a good front desk girl, but I just felt like there's got to be something more. And that's when I really was like, I don't think I just need to take control of my own income, I guess. And so I had that conversation and I was pretty discouraged after that. It was a good place to work and everything. They appreciated me. But again, I was like, I'm just stuck making this wage. And now I'm back to struggling again because 2021 and 2022, like inflation was pretty steep again. So this just was a struggle. And I just, I'm 30 years old now. Why am I still struggling with a college degree and all this experience? It's just ridiculous. And then at the same time, shortly after that hard conversation, I had a heart wrenching breakup and I was determined to win the breakup. So then I was on my own self love journey and like, making vision boards and like meditating and reading all these self help books. And so what really happened was my kind of like my spiritual journey just evolved into my entrepreneurial journey because it was abundance and mindset and I deserve more and everything. But then it also was like, I need to be the conduit for my own wealth. And that's the ultimate trust, honestly. And like whatever you want to call your spirituality and God or the universe, like that's the ultimate trust is by going off on your own and saying, I'm going to make my own money. I don't need to convince anyone else why they should hire me. And that obviously doesn't work because I've had all these jobs where I'm totally qualified for raises and go above and beyond, and that doesn't happen. So I was in early 2022 that I started my business, and my mindset coach at the time, she was saying stuff like, "You don't have to know what your business is. Just go get your LLC, paint your office, just do all those little things, so that way when you have your idea, you're ready to go." And so I remember I got my LLC and I named it something generic because I didn't know what my business would be, but I was like, I know I'm going to have $1 million idea. And then one of my best friends, my cousin, one of my mentors, she's always been a really big inspiration to me. She's a photographer and has been freelancing for 10 years and been amazing at it. And she said, Sarah, why don't you be a social media manager? And I don't know why the thought never came to me. I was like, I don't know. I just didn't consider it at all. And she said, "Because every time I take your advice, my posts perform really well. You save so much time. You have all these creative ideas and you're professional, but you're also fun. I think you should do that." And I go, there it is. There's my $1 million idea. I have my LLC. I have my office ready to go. I have a monitor, all like my computer supplies already on the way from Amazon. And so I was able to hit the ground running and I moonlit or whatever. Like I kind of side hustled for about 6 months. And then in August 2022 is when I went all in full on for myself. So it's been a huge learning curve since then. I've done all kinds of different things and some graphic design, some web design. So all like your whole marketing has to come together as one big system, right? So I've dabbled in a lot of different areas of that, but making social media easier for small businesses is totally I love that because I feel like social media is like the great leveler. It like levels the playing field because some regular person from the Midwest can learn how to go use TikTok. And then all of a sudden they're getting just as much exposure, if not more, than Ford and like all these big giant companies. So I just feel like it's this way for like just regular people to have access to all these wealth, but also just ideas too. I mean, social media will like you're always going to compare yourself. There's going to be somebody with like a more fashionable lifestyle than you, but it'll also show you things that you didn't realize were possible. So I think by finding a way to show businesses and like entrepreneurs and startups how to make social media a lot easier. I think that's really powerful. And I believe it to just be a 21st century skill. I mean, you can hire people like me to just do it for you. But as the demand for content continues to grow, I just believe that it's a 21st century skill that anybody who can learn how to talk about what they do and share their message and their story, in the digital space, I think that's always going to be a skill that's in demand.
It's interesting. When I first met you, this was at Funnel Hacking Live. Was that 2022?
And what is, yeah, that was just after, it was like a month after full time I met you.
Yeah, because it seems like, even then when I met you, were having a video kind of created with you and someone who was there, just someone who was helping you do some video. And at that time, this is what you were doing. You were doing social media and talking about video and how to shoot video and different concepts around that. So obviously it turned into something that became a passion for you. It was no longer just, I need to make some money. Oh, you want social media? Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll figure that out. When did you decide or realize that you really love what you're doing now?
Okay, well, quick, back to that video that you saw me make. So that person that was filming me, he and I actually went to college together. We were friends in college in Bellingham, Washington, which is as northwest of Washington as you can get. So when we saw each other in Orlando, Florida, 10 years later, we had this moment where I walked by him and I'm like, that's probably not Tyler. But then he was like, Sarah? And I go, Tyler? And it was just crazy. And then we reconnected over, we had a cocktail that first night and he offered to make me a video. He's like, I got this camera, just hit me up and we'll make a video. So I was like, free dinner in exchange for like drinks and or free high quality video in exchange for dinner. And like that's a good deal. I'm gonna capitalize on that. But I think my real passion, Rob, honestly, like as much as I love social media, I think my real passion is just showing moms and women and just like spirited people who know they're meant for something bigger. I feel like my job is really just to show them that they can. And I've decided to use social media as a vehicle to do that because I have the skill set, but as I'm a one person show right now, social media manager, I've just hired an assistant and I'm getting into podcasting and everything. And so I'm scaling right now into more of an agency model. But I definitely see it 5, 10 years down the road. I definitely see myself being like inspirational speaker, author, coach, consultant, personality, really, because a lot of people say, oh, I want to start a business, but I'm too scared. Like I can't go all in or whatever. I can't quit my day job. And I totally get that. But if a single mom with a mortgage can find a way to make it work, I think a lot of people, I think you could. I mean, I went all in that first year. I mean, I'm like dog sitting and like dog walking. I even like went to a temp agency and was like bottling wine and stuff because I went all in. And I mean, I went into credit card debt. I'm still working on that, but like I don't regret it because I'm building something bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said more than once how you felt like you were destined for something greater. And I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs feel that way, but it is hard to go from I should be doing more, I deserve more, I'm better than this to uh, full on, full time. This is me. This is my new business. I'm the only one who's going to be able to provide for me and my family at this point. And you said you were doing a little bit of moonlighting where you work part time for someone else and then went off your own. I feel like a lot of people need to do that, but there is a point where you say, okay, I am going to go into this full time just for me. How did you know when that time was for you and you were ready to take on full responsibility for your life at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of factors, like that whole process of me growing up and the breakup and the conversation with my boss. Like, this is actually my fourth business I've started. So I used to back in 2013. I after college I went traveling around the world and I just lived out of my backpack for 5 months. And so I had a whole blog and I wrote a book about budget traveling. People being like, oh, you can't travel. And I'm like, well, what if you got airfare and hotel for free? Would you do it then? So then I had a whole blog and a whole everything. And that's when I first learned about all this digital stuff. That was in 2013. I did that for about 3 years and I stopped, right? And then I decided I was going to be a wedding planner. In 2017, I was like, I'm super extroverted, but I'm also highly organized. I think I should do it. So then I was a wedding planner, but I never quit my day job. I was waiting tables and doing winery stuff then. And I didn't quit my day job. And then I pivoted to like just doing wedding officiating. So I kind of my third business, but I had to definitely pivot from the wedding planning. And so I just remember this time being like, like I said, I was just having so many feelings about everything. And I was meditating and blowing up and journaling and like doing all the mindset work. And it just, I think because of those experiences, it's not like they were failed businesses, like they were learning experiences, but I just realized if I'm gonna be serious about this, it's almost like the universe needs a grand gesture to be like, "Oh, you're serious this time." And I remember that first week when I went off on my own. For so many years, I had been getting up at 5 in the morning to like work on my side hustle for a couple of years before I went to work full time and then did all my mom stuff too. And I remember that first week of myself, I'm like, I'm gonna get so much done, like working for my own self 8 hours a day. Like and then it's like that comes off to your clients, like, well, they're not full time, they're not all in, like maybe they're not competent, maybe they're not all in on themselves, maybe they don't believe in themselves. So it just worked out. I don't know. I had a couple out of body experiences when I was at my office job and I it was before right around the time right before I opened my LLC when my friend called me and she goes, "Hey, we're going to Mexico." I speak Spanish and I love Mexico. "Hey, me and my friends are going to Mexico. Can you come?" And I remember being like, I have to work. And it just killed me, and I swear to God, at that moment, I was in my front desk looking out, and we're downtown, so all these our town is so beautiful in the spring, and all the tourists are here for wine stuff, and it's just the trees are blooming, it's so gorgeous. Just watching everybody walk through the front door, walk past the front door, and I felt like my soul just grabbed me from the inside and just shook me, like, "No, dang it, like, you're not supposed to be at some desk job. You're supposed to be in freaking Mexico right now. And if you had your own business, you could go move stuff around and go to Mexico." So that was, I mean, it wasn't like one specific moment where I just realized August 1st has to be the time that I do it. But I guess like my old life, I was just so fed up with everything that at that point, after all those businesses and all those hard conversations with bosses and all my glowing up, I just knew that like whatever was ahead of me, whatever mystery and darkness and lack of clarity was ahead of me, I knew I just had to jump for it because I was already so tired of what was happening and what my life was like. And I was tired of feeling mediocre. And so you get to a point when you're assessing your risk, like, do I go full time? Do I freelance? Do I like side hustle? And you just get to the point where you're like, you know what? I'd rather just go all in. And if that fails, that's better than staying in my current situation.
Yeah, I went through somewhat of the same thing when working for another company doing what I do, the marketing stuff. And that's exactly how I felt is I'm going to work every day. I'm in this cubicle. There's this small little desk and I love my job and the company was great, but it was just me saying to myself, I just can't do this anymore. I can't sit here in this cubicle any longer. And I remember going and talking to my parents about this. And I mentioned this before in another podcast, but I told my parents, "Hey, I quit my job today. I'm just doing my own marketing agency full time." And of course they were just like, "Why?" What I said, because they're so old school. They're so used to the going to work for a corporation and or a company and staying with them for your whole life, which these days you just can't do. I mean, I don't know any company where you just go and you stay there for 20 years. It doesn't work. So that was me. And I said, I told them, I'm so tired of being stuck in this little cubicle all the time, every day. I just can't do it anymore. And I think it was my mom that said, "Well, why don't you just ask for a bigger cubicle?" And I just like, that's not the point.
Right. Mom. Yeah.
Not the size of the cubicle, it's the fact that I'm stuck in it. And so anyway, for me, it was, I also have a marketing agency and I was trying to grow and get new clients. And I remember telling the people I'm working for, I said, "Look, I'm really going to have to start weaning you guys off of me. In other words, I can't stay here." And they said, "Well, how long do you need?" I said, "Well, I can give you a couple of months, 3 or 4 months, whatever you need." And the guy that I was with, my boss said, "Well, what, what's going to be best for you?" And I said, "Well, best for me is the sooner I can get out, the better, because I already have new clients coming on. I need to get working." And he had just said, "Okay, well, don't worry about us. We'll be okay. You need to worry about you and worry about the things that you need to do." And so he said, "Let's just put 2 weeks down." At that point, I remember going, okay, wow, this is real. This just really happened. I really did just put in my 2 weeks notice to go in. on a business that I had been doing myself. Well, and the other thing that I can tell you this too is, like you, I've had this business for years and years, but I kept getting calls from other corporations and things who were offering me, money and salaries and things to go into it. And so every time that something would come up, I thought, okay, well, it's good. Let me go grab that check. At least that's a solid check while I build this other business. But it's been just this last few months after quitting this job when I realized that secure check that you get was really holding me back.
Yeah.
And that $5,000 or $6,000 a month that they give you there is nothing compared to the thousands and thousands of dollars you can make when you're on your own. And so for me, I can't go back. I just can't go back to that. But I would like you. I would rather just have tried, but I know I can't do that. So it's funny that you have that same kind of feeling that I did. I feel that same way. It's just, you got that entrepreneurial spirit, and it's so hard to go back to that kind of 9 to 5 mentality. And I'm sure you've worked with other people who have felt the same way. When you work with moms and you work with some of these other entrepreneurs who are starting to get in their own business, what kind of advice do you give them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I always just say go for it. Like, you're your own worst enemy. And I have a friend who recently got fired from a job. And honestly, like, I just feel like you said, you can't work at the same company for 20 years. That doesn't happen. Like, my dad gave his whole career to the corporate bureaucracy. And then he got old and they canned him. One time he got injured and he was like so highly qualified. And as soon as he got injured, they stopped giving him his jobs, like his traveling. And it's like, I just feel like these days, corporations treat their employees usually. There's always exceptions. There are some good places to work, but they just treat them like they're disposable. I will just get somebody younger who wants the experience, we can pay less to do it. And the thing is, it always seems so risky. It's like with your parents too. With the older generation, sometimes it feels so risky to go off and start your own business. But in my opinion, it's actually way riskier to give your everything to to a company because they can you at any time, and then you're left without benefits. You're left with I gave them everything. I wasn't because I wasn't looking out for myself and I trusted them to take care of me. Now I'm left without an emergency fund or without whatever they might have. And so it's just as risky to stay in a job like especially if you don't like it, because they can fire you at any time, and then what? Like, and there's lots of talk about layoffs and everything. Well, layoffs happen, right? Like, they happen every day. Every day people are getting laid off. And so at least I know because like I'm starting my own business and I'm still growing and figuring it out and scaling. And like I'd love to make more revenue every month, of course. But I know that I'm making connections, I'm building skills, and I'm putting stuff out there that is supporting me for the long term.
Yeah. And you mentioned connections, making connections. And what I've found in my entrepreneurial recently, I've had the same clients for a long time. And what's really cool about that is I don't do any kind of long-term contracts. I don't lock clients into a year or 6 months or anything, but
Really?
I've had clients that have been with me for about 10 years. And some have been with me just 3 or 4 years, but they don't go anywhere because I do a good job for them. But what's interesting about that is because I've just relied on those same clients as a side hustle for so long, I realized how much I suck at prospecting and going out and getting leads.
Yeah.
And it's just been, wow, what a mind opening experience to realize, hey, we don't have any new leads coming in, and that's my fault. And I've found that right now we have 4 bids for 4 different companies out there who are looking for us to do their marketing. And so they're running it through their partners and people who are there talking to business partners and other ways, I guess other partners too. But every one of those is through a referral, not through an ad, not through a Facebook post. It's all from a warm referral that came from one of my clients or from someone who knows that I do this kind of thing. So when you're talking about those connections, that is probably one of the most important things any business for any entrepreneur is building those connections, building that network. What are some things that you do to go out there and build connections and build your network?
Well, I go to events like funnel hacking, and part of that's for the connections, but it's also for the energy. Like, I need to be fully submerged in the energy of successful entrepreneurship, right? And so that's the beauty of living in this day and age is that if you're not getting that, like I live in kind of a small town. If you're not getting that in your environment, you can go out and find it. And I think that's so much, it's so powerful to go find like-minded individuals or people who are beyond you, right? And so you can acclimate to what that's like. So, I mean, for me, networking is like a sport. I do go to lots of local networking events here. I joined the Chamber of Commerce, for example, and part of that was because I am a young person, and also because I'm in a very new industry, and I feel like I really needed the credibility of the Chamber of Commerce. And like I went to and I applied. I'm a certified woman-owned business with the state of Washington too, so I got those things because I needed to borrow the credibility, right? And the networking events are great, but I just think that, and also their target audience is typically established businesses. So that helped me get in front of companies that already had established marketing budgets. As much as I love startups, I mean, I'm my passion is startups, but also like they don't usually have a budget. So it's like I always have free content and free offers for them. But obviously, like my actual clients are more established businesses and even municipalities too. But yeah, I think networking is huge. I actually keep all my business cards that I've ever collected. I'm going to show you. Hold on. I have all these business cards and it's like so many in here. And I don't sit here and add everyone to my CRM or anything, but I do put notes on here and I'll be like, "Oh, this person's wife is named this," or like, "I met them here," because that way, I don't know if I ever need to go back and make that connection. I think I was given that piece of advice from somebody, from a career coach a while ago. I also love using Instagram. I mean, I know it's social media, but you gloss over the fact that it's social media, like, you're meant to be social on social media, and I can't tell you the number of friends that I've made on social media where we're full on Facebook, we're full on friends, and if I ever go to California or there's a couple I could think of, but I've got 2 in California, right? And if I ever go to California, I'm gonna meet up with them and we're gonna be friends in real life. But I think that's so important is to really think about it as a network. These are social media networks, but if you just think it's just become a blanket term, but if you think of what that is, I go on Instagram, that's my preferred platform, and I sometimes people will just come up on my platform. Sometimes people will just come up on my page, like my discover page. But sometimes I'll type in social media managers or someone I might follow somebody and I'll take their advice and I'll tag them in something. Like I try to be as interactive as possible because it does build connections, but it also gets me in front of a new audience. It gets them social proof. So it's totally a win for them. And if I go to a coffee shop, I mean, I'm taking a story and tagging that business in it, and they super appreciated it because all these businesses cannot keep up with the demand for content. And so they're always excited to get that. And that's a great opener too. I also make it a point when I get a new follower, I say, "Hey, thanks for so much for the follow. Do you have questions or is there like a really big pain point right now?" And I honestly do try to help them. And of course, I have various offers that I can lead them to depending on their goals and their price point and everything. But I do honestly try to be that resource for them and having that conversation where I see a new follower come in, I make friends with them. I might like some of their posts. I might see what they're all about. Maybe, and I'll look for common ground. Are we both women? Are we moms? Do we live in the same area? Do we have similar hobbies? And I look for collaboration opportunities. So I think just keeping it, I think old school networking and marketing is really important. Oh, and emails. I'm a big fan of email marketing. I think that old school stuff is super important, but it's like you have to have this, in my opinion, the social media, that's what really gets your message out to the masses. But then you have to build a funnel and then you got to bring it back to your database. Or even if you're just bringing it back to this, like old school, whatever way, but you get that exposure from social media, but you got to find a way to bring it back to your business, right?
Yeah, I think being social on social media is definitely one of those things that I've told people the same thing when I've talked and I've gotten in front of audiences and I talk about social media. And that's what I say. I mean, it's crazy how much we forget to be social on social media. It's
Yeah.
usually just scrolling through, looking at posts, may comment, but we never, occasionally you'll comment on someone's family post or something, but not just other people in the area, other people who are on your social networks. So I feel the same way. I mean, it if you can be more social on social media, that definitely can help get the word out. Now, the other thing that I have discovered is how important it is to become and share your expertise on social media. So when we're talking about some of the things that you've taught others, reels and video, and what are some of the things there that you could educate these mompreneurs on? How can they leverage videos to get more visibility, to show that they're an expert in the field that they operate in? What's some advice you have there for that?
Well, what I would say is you got to show your personality because whatever you're selling, whether it's a product or a service, there's probably someone else on the internet selling something similar or the same thing. But anyone in marketing knows this that we're emotional creatures when we buy and when we decide to do business. We're doing it because we feel like that person gets us. And that's why social media is so great. And so on the one hand, it's a fine line because on the one hand, you want the majority of your content to speak to the either the pain points of your target audience or the dream results of your target audience. But you also have to find a way to put your own spin on it, put your own flair, your personality. And I've been really leaning into storytelling. I'll just talk about my experiences because people need to like me, Sarah, as a person. And then when they like me, they're more receptive to all my tips and everything. But then, and especially in my field, there's so many social media managers, so many people on Instagram sharing Instagram tips. How am I standing out? Well, it's my personality. It's my lived experiences. It's my personality. It's my stories and anecdotes. So I think that having that balance between talking about your story, but then also talking about the problems that you solve for your dream audience, I think that's the fine line. And that line's probably always changing. I'm not going to sit here and say it's like an equation, but I do feel like we're getting more towards as we tire of marketing as the years go on, right? And so like we have to find a way to still share what we're doing, share our services, but in a way that doesn't feel like marketing. And I think that's with storytelling. And in regards to video, I mean, my biggest tip that I say for people who are trying to capitalize on social media, especially with video, video performs always better than photo posts. So any kind of announcement, I mean, it's just, you just have to think of yourself as a content creator or even think of yourself as an influencer, which is a cringy word. And a lot of people don't like that. They think that it's really like shallow and vapid to call yourself an influencer, but you want to be a person who has influence. You want to build influence, right? So just get in the habit of taking videos of your everyday life, right? So I always tell people to make a content bank. So I don't get my hair and makeup done every day. Sometimes I just have days on my computer where I'm just in yoga clothes and I don't put makeup on, right? And we all have those days, or even if you have a 9 to 5, like you just have those days for a year, too rushed, you're not going to be making any content. But when you are all done up, I have a shot list that I give to people. And I say to them, I say, make a shot list, take a week or just a couple days, or just always be adding to it. But think about what you've done in that week, right? Go look at your calendar or your planner, and that's your shot list from last week, right? Did you walk into your office? You can make it so much more simple. Take video of whatever you're doing from different angles. So if I'm walking into my office, let's say I have my day job still, right? I can take a video of my feet and then bring the camera up, like walking in the office. I could put my camera on like a vase, like prop it up on the vase, and then walk in the can and walk in. Or I can maybe have a friend hold it, or get yourself a tripod. It's $20, such a good investment. So take video of everything, and you might think like, when people are new to social media and new to taking video all the time, they don't feel worthy to be in front of the camera. And they're like, who is going to want to watch me make my coffee or whatever? And so learning how to put yourself out there on social media is it's so much like an exercise in building your confidence. So now I'm a lot more confident and outspoken because I've forced myself to put myself out there, right? And like take cute pictures, be out on the street. Like you're going to worry about people judging you. Like, oh my gosh, she's too into herself over here taking a selfie and stuff. But forget what they think because honestly, this is a skill set that's going to make you money and they can cringe about it when they're at home in the privacy of their house, right? But like, I know that I'm building content because that way I literally have a whole album in my phone. So that way, if I'm scrolling on Instagram, I find an audio that I really like and I want to repurpose. I just go right there and I have a whole bank of content. And because I've been doing this for a while, I have it seasonally. I have like, oh, there's some stuff from me on a plane. Like I have lifestyle stuff. I have like me going to that conference. I have me working at my desk. I've made my office my brand colors. So it's on brand. And like this is my brand color. So I'm always on brand. And so just getting in the habit, you're gonna get better and better with your video. Of course, you can learn to make better videos, but if you just start pressing record more often and keeping it in an album, you're going to have so much content. And when you're starting out too, you think like, oh, I haven't posted in a couple days, or I haven't posted in a week. Like, I know I need to post something. I don't know what, but I need to post something before the internet forgets about me. So you have that album, and all I say is like, hey, what's a pain point that your target audience is facing? So maybe I'll take a video from my content bank. It's just a video of me walking my dog, and I can say, hey, if you don't know how to write captions, do this. And I just put on screen text or maybe even a voiceover. And so that way I can make it in that moment when I need to. So for me, that content bank, you're just getting in the habit of filming yourself and making as much as you can video. That's the number one tip I would have for anybody.
Well, I think you talked about that content bake in your like ebook.
Mhm.
Um, it was and I remember I downloaded it and I looked through it and I actually sent it off to my social media manager to say, "Wow, you should take a look at this. There's a lot of good advice, a lot of good tips and tricks and things in here that I want you to look at." And that's a resource that people can go in. They can go to your website. They can purchase that book, which is, I think, really good. Not only does it have information about the bank that you're talking about, but also tips and tricks and a schedule planner and all kinds of stuff, if I remember correctly. So,
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about where do people go find that?
Yeah, well, I can go to my website, therealsarah.com, and that's REEL, like Instagramreels.com. Yeah, so it's basically a 7-step framework, and I've been doing this for a couple of years with a lot of different clients, and it's always the same thing. It's going to be get really clear on your brand voice and again, your target audience, their dream results, their pain points. Like, you got to hash that out first. I mean, this. You have to be talking to that all the time, and your entire strategy is going to be based on that. And then no matter what your industry is, you need to optimize your profile so that you can be found when people are searching for people like you, right? And then it's content planning. It's like never run out of content ideas. I mean, it's pretty much everything you would need. And social media is always changing. I know that. And that's why I almost didn't write a book about it because I'm like, oh, is this going to be out of date by the time I hit publish? But the philosophy is there. The philosophy is the same. And for anybody who's just starting out and maybe they can't afford to hire a social media manager, but they can have a book and it has templates and everything in there so they can download it once and they can like reuse it year after year or quarter after quarter, whatever their stage are, and they can just keep rinsing and repeating that same thing. And that alone is gonna get them really far.
Let's take a minute and talk about the elephant in the room, which some people may not see this as an elephant in the room, but I do. And that is how AI is going to change some of the things that we're doing online. What do you see happening with AI in the future of marketing?
Yeah, well, I'm still learning a lot about AI, and I think that maybe I'm a little bit behind. I really want to learn more about it. I think it's a great tool. I think a lot of people are scared about AI, and there's a lot of fear, right? And that usually comes from lack of information, but also you just have to adapt. Like, we're in technological information ages. Social media is not going anywhere. AI is not going anywhere. So the more you can just embrace it as opposed to fighting it, sink or swim, right? That's going to be the biggest difference. And where I see, that's where I said before. So content creation is a 21st century skill. And so like, yeah, you can go into AI and type in like, give me a video of this specific thing, right? But I think that people are still going to, for the most part, I think people can tell when stuff is AI generated. And maybe I know that maybe in the future you won't be able to tell, but I think that learning how to tell your story and learning how to be in front of the camera, I think YouTube and longer form content podcasts, I think these are going to be more and more valuable because people know that they can trust these things. They can trust my gestures. I don't know how long AI will take for them to be able to get the tones and the gestures. And so I think making sure to have longer form content is going to be the best way for businesses or for anybody to stay on social media and to adapt. I think use ChatGPT to come up with your content captions, but then put your final spin on it, right? And you can use it, but I don't know. I guess just I think it's still going to be important to show your face, to show your voice, to have whatever you can to make a real human connection that AI can't do. I think that's what's going to be also important.
Yeah, I think That's how I see it too. There's gonna be a lot of things that AI can do as far as creating content, images, and even video. And I've seen those where you clone your own face now and the lips are moving a little weird. I mean, some things that obviously it was AI generated. But I think that, yeah, as we move into more of an AI world, sure, there are going to be things that are going to become more and more realistic in AI. But at the same time, the more one to one being yourself, connecting with people on an emotional scale, it's going to be hard for AI to do that. It may be a few years before that kind of happens. But I think being aware of the tools and then, like you said, using those tools in a way that helps to not necessarily rely completely on AI, but to say I'm going to use Mid-Journey or some other content creation, image creation for a background, but then I'm going to use this photo I shot with a camera for the foreground and melding those two things together. So there's learning how to use AI, not depending on AI, but learning how to use AI and leverage it the right way. And making those emotional human connections is so much more important than just turning on a bot that's going to post something for you
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah. And on that same tangent, I think that learning how to do prospecting on Instagram or on social media is going to be important. Leaning into being social on social media and using it to have real conversations. I mean, there's many chat where that's how they automate your comments and DMs. They'll be like, comment the word book and get my audiobook or whatever. And I think that's really helpful and awesome. But if I'm sending a message, like I said, I send a new message to every new follower that I get, and I do have a template, but I customize it. And so I think, again, that's not only gonna help you stand out, but it's gonna help you make human connections. Like, whoa, the real Sarah wrote me a message. Okay. And I can tell I took that 2 minutes to go look at their profile. And then like write a custom message just for them. So again, like I think learning how to use it in a way that really can connect people, be social on social media, have conversations, long form content. I think those are the only ways that I know to adapt to AI in the social media landscape.
Yeah, not only on things like where you'd expect interaction, Facebook and Instagram, those kinds of things, but I remember talking to someone who had a YouTube channel and she had a fairly good following. But the thing that was really cool about what she did was that when people would comment on her stuff on her YouTube video, she would comment back, or she'd even find their username and send them a message or something, say, "Hey, I saw you commented. Thanks so much." And it was just people were blown away that just this person on YouTube would actually reach out and talk to them. And again, it's this real life, emotional, human connection that you're not
Yeah.
gonna just get on Facebook and Instagram, posts all day.
Yeah, and, like, the bigger your account is, probably the harder that will be, but I have I get a notification every time someone signs up for my email, and I have an opt-in, like, I have a lead magnet. It's like a PDF that I send out for anyone who signs up for my list, and so, again, like, I'll get that email, and then I'll go back into Instagram because they usually find me on Instagram, but sometimes it's other platforms, and I'll say, "Hey, I saw you just downloaded my guide. Can you let me know what you think, or you have any questions after looking at it, or like did the download work?" Again, like I think that any opportunity to have a genuine conversation and show them that you're a real person on the other end of the chat, I think that's really important.
So you talked a little bit about things that you're looking to become author or speaker. Where do you see your business in like 5 years?
All right. So in 5 years, I'm going to have a team and it's going to be my job. Like I'm going to have video editors. I'm going to have podcast managers, ad experts. It's basically going to be my job to be the face of the company. It's going to be my job to be the personality. I feel like I'll go on stage or like hopefully get other podcast interviews. And I think that my job is essentially going to be to inspire people and to get them energized about the possibilities. And then I have these services, I'll have this agency hashed out. And for example, like I think it's going to be really great, like I said, to do podcasting and YouTubing. So then it can be my job to map out the strategy, to tell the team what the strategy is going to be, a custom strategy based on that client, where they need to go. And it's going to be my job to be the one in charge of talking to the client. I think that having like high touch is going to, I think that's going to help me really stand out as like a luxury brand and luxury agency, is just managing expectations, managing communications, But yeah, I see myself definitely like being a paid speaker, traveling, and I want to write a couple of books. And I wrote the social media book, but I think I've got like a really fun life story. And I also think I might write a book that's called The Bad Bitch's Guide to Winning the Breakup. Because I feel like I just feel like you have so much heartbreak going on in your life. And if I don't make something good out of it, it's like, what's the point? So I just think that I think I have a new perspective. A lot of people I don't know. I'm just weird enough that people think I'm really interesting usually. And I think that it'll just be my job to like be the personality behind the brand, really.
No, I think you're right, especially when you talk about how important it is that communication, high touch points where you're talking to people. Man, I can't tell you how much people appreciate it. It doesn't matter if you're a marketing agency or a plumber. I mean, reaching out and just say, "Hey, just wanted to personally reach out and say thanks again for letting this work on your disposal," or whatever it is that you did. That could be
Right.
huge.
And I own my own house now, but I definitely see myself getting more into real estate as an investor. I see myself building wealth in a lot of different ways. And so I'm hoping that it can be sort of a separate entity maybe that's like, hey, this is how women build wealth and like women can buy homes and buy businesses. I want to buy, I have a local laundromat and I want to buy them. So I just feel like maybe not this year. I've got, like I said, I got a lot going on, and I never think anything happens fast enough. So that's one of my weaknesses. But I think that figuring out I guess my real dream and my real vision is to figure out how to win capitalism and show people how to do it, especially show women how to do it. I feel really strongly that women need to make their own money and be financially responsible but independent. And it's so easy to just like have your money be like, okay, well, he's handling the investments or whatever. Like, and it doesn't even matter what your relationship is. If you're married or single, I mean, like, it's all good, right? Like, both are beautiful. But I just think that to have that independence is so important because so many women are in toxic relationships because they don't have a way out, or they have a toxic boss, or they deal with like sexual harassment at work all the time, literally all the time. And it's just so like under the right people just deal with it. And like you're not in a position to help yourself. And so, like, I feel like a lot of people might give me flack for saying this, but I feel like it's my duty to learn how to become wealthy because when I have a lot, I can give back a lot. And I just want to be able to make an impact. Like, I want to be able to inspire, but like, it's great to volunteer and like I donate to Greenpeace like $7 a month, and that's nice, right? But if I could like if I could amass wealth by building my agency, being a speaker and author and owning real estate, if I can write a $700,000 check to my favorite charity, then that's so much more powerful. So I think for right now, I'm putting my head down. I'm just getting the work done and I'm building my empire. And I do what I can to give back to my community right now, but I'm waiting and I'm excited for the point where I can make a really big difference, right? And I'll have all these systems running in the background. I'll have the agency running. I'll have passive income from the properties and from the laundromat, from the dry cleaner. And so then I have my time and my creative efforts to give back. And so that's when I can do more charitable work because I'm getting paid. I'm taking care of myself. I'm taking care of my team. And so then I can go and I can volunteer and I can give back in ways that are really meaningful because I'm totally taken care of.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful what you've talked about there. Giving back and being successful to help others. And I love the fact that you have the vision. You didn't hesitate at all when I said 5 years. You're just like, here's what we're doing in 5 years. And a good CEO of a company has a plan. They know where they're going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And if you don't know where you're going to be 5 years from 10 years from now, you're probably not going to get there. So I love what you said. Very motivating. I'm sure I'll go back to this podcast and listen to that when I'm feeling down and I need the little uplift. I'll be like, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna listen to Sarah talk about her future and that'll motivate me because and I hope it helps other businesses as well. I just in kind of final thoughts, it's almost been an hour, so we need to wrap this up. But man, we've really just we covered so many amazing things doing this. Is there any like last bit of advice or any information that you want to give to our audience before we end this and finish up here?
Yeah, I would say that I hope that it's your life mission to become the most you version of yourself, like the most concentrated, confident, outspoken, richest, most talented version of yourself. And whether or not you're going to start your own business to do it, I mean, if you've always wanted to take up karate, do karate. If you've always wanted to learn another language, just do the thing that you'll never regret investing in yourself. So, and I feel like just the culture we're in, it just gets overbearing and it's so easy to scroll or watch TV or so easy to be apathetic. And so I just think that whatever you do, and if you have kids too, I mean, like your kids are gonna look at you and they're gonna be like, "Wow, like mom kicked ass in that karate tournament or whatever." And like, it's never selfish. It's really not selfish to go after your dreams, even if you're a parent, even if you have other people depending on you. If anything, that's the most noble thing that you can do because you're gonna be your truest self and you're gonna shine bright. And then you're gonna be inspiring people, like, on a micro scale, just one by one. You shine bright, and then that person's gonna think that they can shine their light too. So I just would like to end with saying, I think it's just the most noble cause you could possibly go for by just leaning into yourself and, like, make yourself the main character. Be the person that no matter how outrageous it sounds, like, you can learn French and be a black belt in karate. Like, you can do that. It's your life, and, like, you can actually just go out and do those things.
Awesome. That is, yeah, again, so motivational, so true. I love your attitude. I definitely want to follow up with you on a podcast in another few months, maybe a year or whatever, maybe 5 years again. We'll see when
Yeah.
you are
If I want
in
that
that
longer.
point. Yeah. Obviously, I will be probably at that point sitting on my own private island somewhere and we do our podcast. But yeah, for me, also have dreams and visions, but I appreciate your time and thank you so much for reaching out to me and being on this podcast. And I really feel like there's a lot of things here that this audience can benefit from. So I will make sure that we get all this information and we put links to your website in the description. I'll put this up on YouTube as well and let people know about that. So it's been just amazing. And again, I can't believe that we went through an hour that quickly. Just so fun, so good.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate being on your platform. Thanks so much, Rob.
All right. Well, we'll do it again soon.
Okay, sounds good. Fly me out to your private island, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye.